and that is panel announcements. So it's a big thing in the GAA. As a Dublin fan, the one that I can remember the most is, of course, 2021. Stephen Cluxton, his impending retirement, or whether he is or whether he isn't playing, hung over Dublin's season for the entire year. The entire season was, is Cluxton playing? Is he not playing? If Dublin had a preliminary squad released at the start of the championship, like a 26-man panel or a 36-man panel, and Stephen Cluxton was not named in the squad, then everybody would have known from day one that he's not taking part. I think, obviously the potential side effects of that is, well, they're not pro players, life can change very quickly, players can go travelling, but I just make it a 36-man panel so that you have room to accommodate for players that you might not be using. What would you think about this? To me, it's a no-brainer.
It is a no-brainer, yeah. I suppose I'd have a 30-man panel. Maybe you were mentioning, actually, before we came on air, about a World Cup type of squad. I don't think you have a World Cup type of idea. Maybe have a backup group of players as well. Have them six backup group of players, and just let them in the panel. And then if there's an injury, or if there's, let's say, something dramatic happens or something like that, then you could bring in one of them or maybe two of them. So that'll solve all the problems instantly then. It's a big thing because, so I remember with, I think it was Cork a few years ago in 2014, like we had a terrible game against Kerry, losing by 12 points. And then we played Sligo and subsequently then Mayo, and we brought in some new players, like I think it was some fella from Castlehaven. We also brought in a certain Ian Maguire into the panel, a new addition, and we didn't know who he was literally. So maybe there's that sort of element as well that'll be taken away. But at the same time, like we talk about empathy towards journalists as well, or match reporters going to a game. Like if you have a squad out in front of you, I think that's the main thing out of this. And if the GAA aren't going to announce, or certain GAA accounts on Twitter, for example, aren't going to announce their teams, maybe it's worth looking at the squad numbers, possibly. I think that could be a decent idea. Like, that could be an option. Or the teams announce their teams at least 2 days before throwing, and that'll solve a lot of problems indeed. The Cluxton thing, like everybody was speculating as well that year, I remember. Like everybody was saying,
that hung over Dublin way longer than his retirement would have. It harmed Dublin way more.
Yeah, it did, yeah. And when you look at Dublin that season, like they struggled to beat Wexford, they struggled to beat Meath. Eventually they succumbed to Mayo, and they produced not a very Dublin-esque performance that day, and maybe it was done, and it actually reverberated into the next year then in the league. So like that hung over Dublin for a pretty long time after that. Like you don't know where Cluxton was going. Was he going in? Was he going out? So that has to be solved, definitely. And I suppose the squads as well have to be announced for a particular match day at least 2 days before throwing. I get there's injuries and stuff like that with Sigurdsson Cup, but look, I'll take it from my example. Like last year I was working on a certain app doing GAA games, and I had to get the team news for every game. There were some counties that would have the team news literally 5 minutes before throwing.
Yeah,
that's a disgrace. It's an absolute disgrace. And when you think about it, they don't think about the GAA fans. They don't think about people running the GAA, providing a service, things like that. And even looking at go back to my own county, Cork. When we played Galway in the league last year, yes, it was a brilliant game, and we put it up to the potential All-Ireland finalists in fairness. But in that game, it was named Sean Meehan, for example, to be number 6. But then the match worker was named number 3. There was a huge mix-up with the numbers and stuff like that from the team that was initially named two days ago. I mean, that was ridiculous at the same time. I think it happened in the McGrath Cup as well with Cork. Maybe it's just Cork. Maybe it happens with other counties. But that is another part, Seamus, that needs to be fixed as well.
There was another player there, I can't remember, but it was in the Division 1 game last weekend where someone was wearing number 10 and came on, but they weren't in the programme as number 10. I can't remember off the top of my head which one it was, but that has happened. Like Sean Meehan wearing number 3 and number 6, but like it confuses everyone because you're thinking, yeah, that's not Sean Meehan. That's Sean Meehan doesn't look like that. It confuses everyone. And then on top of that, what I'd like to throw in is the changes that happen before the game. Like, teams list out their team and then they make 7 changes before the game starts. Like, it's impossible to keep track of who came in for who's playing where. Like, that needs to change as well. What could we do to kind of stop that?
What I was suggesting, like I think on Instagram recently, about Tyrone, for example, I think they had made 7 changes or something before the Cavan game in the McKenna Cup, and I was suggesting maybe put fines on these teams if they make something like more than 3 or more changes before throwing, fine them because they won't do it again afterwards. You know, it's like when you think about, I know there's injuries. I know there's injuries. I know there's commitments and all that, but at the same time, where's the empathy for the people trying to spread GAA all over the planet, really? You know, to provide GAA content, like I provide stats, Scorpio provides scorekeeping, you provide content like match previews and stuff like that. That work would be go down the drain if they make like 7 or 8 changes a game. I mean, it's ridiculous, really. And even the Derry situation last year, well, it got pretty obvious as the year went on, with Emmett Bradley coming out of the team and Niall Turner coming in. Why do Terry keeps people in suspense when we know it's going to happen eventually? One change in particular, 22 for 9, simply. So
they kept doing that. I was like, just start Niall Turner, will you? Like, just put number 9 on him. Why you keep putting Bradley in the starting team when you're not going to play him? But yeah, like that's, to me, that's just a complete no-brainer. Panel announcements come in. It would not, on top of that as well. This is the last point that we'll put on this. On top of that, it would be a huge kind of moment for GAA fans to get excited about. Like I know myself, especially when I was a younger lad. Dublin are naming their panel tomorrow. Like, imagine Dublin are naming their panel. You made the 30-man squad. Like, you didn't make the 30-man squad, but you're in the you're on the standby list. Like, it would be a massive moment for players to be named in the championship squad for that year, and it would be something really for the fans to get excited about. Imagine opening like an Instagram post and it was Cork's 30-man squad, and you'd read that and you'd be so excited for it. It would be, again, more great content and a great occasion for the GAA to get involved with. Imagine if 2 weeks before the championship, every county announced their panels for the summer. I think it would be a great occasion.
It would be, yeah. And to add to that, Seamus, as well, a few counties are actually doing it now, which is brilliant to see. Like, you see Kildare doing it the last few weeks. Sligo did it. I think Sligo set the trend, which was absolutely brilliant to see that. Lowe did it. I think Carlow did it. I think they're the only counties that did it, but it's such a good idea. I think, anyway. It's an unbelievable idea when you think about it. And even the faces of the players as well. Like, the players have become more recognisable as well as this as well, once they get mentioned on a social media post. Like, I wouldn't have known the Carlow or Sligo players to see. I would have seen them on print, obviously, with scores and all that. But I wouldn't see their faces, and I wouldn't have known them to see. But now that you look at them on social media, you think, oh yeah, that player. I know what he looks like now. I'll have a look out for him in the league. So I think that's a brilliant initiative, and more teams should implement it, definitely. And it shouldn't be just those 4 counties being the standard bearers.